The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
So let's speak about last week's Parshat that we read, Parshat Kitovo. Ositi kol asher tzivitani. The farmer, when he gives his meiser, has to say, I did all that you commanded me, Hashem. Lo yavarti mitzvasecha. And he goes on, I didn't transgress any of your mitzvot. So it's strange. This Parsha is always read right before Rosh Hashanah. So a person has to make a statement. I did all that you commanded me. I did not transgress your mitzvot. Rabbi Yoina wonders about that. What is he patting himself on the back right before the Yom Adin? So it says Rabbi Yoina is something amazing. The petach to Teshuva, he says, were not as bad as the Yetzer Hara convinces me that I am. Yetzer Hara tells us, you're no good, you're no good. Well, if I'm no good, then why do anything? Then why change? If I'm really no good, there's no hope for me. Yiyush, despair. Why do tshuva? Why try to change if I'm no good anyway? So therefore, the Rabbi Yoina says no. Right before the Yom Adin, the Torah says a person has to believe in himself. I didn't transgress your mitzvahs on purpose, God. Last week's parsha. If I did transgress, it would be shogeg. I'm okay. I'll try to be even better. So the key to tshuva, says Rabbi Yoina, is this pasuk. Lo yavarti mitzvasecha. I didn't deliberately transgress your mitzvahs, Hashem, but I'm only human. What a message. Right before Rosh Hashanah. There are so many mitzvahs that we do, we don't even realize that we do them. We're not as bad as the Yetzer Hara tries to convince me that I am. Rashi says something amazing. On the verse, Ositi kol asher tzivitani, I did everything you commanded me. So Rashi says, is that true? So Rashi says, Somachti v'simachti bo yacherim. I was happy and I made other people happy. So according to Rashi, the tafkid of all the mitzvahs, and the Vilna Gaon on this Rashi says, the tafkid of all the mitzvahs in the Torah is to be happy and to give joy to others. So if a person can say, Somachti, I rejoice, Somachti bo yacherim, then he could say, I did all the mitzvahs. The tafkid of all the mitzvot is to give joy to others. Wow. And therefore, Yom Kippur is the happiest day on the Jewish calendar. Now, we say in Shmoneh Esrei, on Rosh Hashanah, V'zolcher kol hanishkochot. You, God, remember all hidden matters. That's the Musaf Shmoneh Esrei. So if you ask most people, what does that mean? That God remembers all of our hidden sins. That's Pashup Shat. V'zolcher kol hanishkochot. You, God, all the hidden sins that we thought we forgot and nobody knew, you remember them. But the Baal Shem Tov says, no, Rabbeinish. V'zolcher kol hanishkochot. On the Yom Adin, God remembers all of our forgotten mitzvot. The mitzvahs we did throughout the year. We think they're not significant, they're not important, we forgot about them. You smiled on somebody, you said hello, you could have frowned, and you gave him a shmeichel. You could have not greeted him, and you did greet him. So you dismiss it as being insignificant, it's not important. But you made that person's day, he was having a bad hair day, and because of you, that smile, that hello, now he's having a good day. So you forgot about it, or thought, dismissed it. V'zoicha kol hanishkochot. On the Yom Adin, God remembers all of the mitzvahs that we forgot. And therefore, on the Yom Adin, you should be happy. There's so many mitzvahs out there, Avi, that we did, we don't even realize. We forgot about them, but he remembers them. All of our mitzvahs on Yom Hadin. That's pretty incredible. You know, the Ramban asked a kasha. If we were setting up the system, why not have Yom Kippur before Rosh Hashanah? Let's think. Rosh Hashanah, heavy judgment day. We stand there with all of our sins. Wouldn't it be more logical, Chava, to have what? First Yom Kippur, get nice and atoned for. you're nice and clean, and then 9 days later, you get ready to be judged. Why does God turn it around? Why does he first give us the heavy judgment, but all of our filth and sin, and only 9 days later give us the Day of Atonement? First give us a day to get cleansed, Yom Kippur, and then you're ready to get judged. Why does God change it around? Why reverse the order? Says the Ramban, I'll put his idea in my language, there's no free lunch, especially not on Yom Kippur. Why should we get Yom Kippur? Why do we deserve to get cleansed? He says, the emet hadin, the fear, the awe, the shame of Judgment Day. We're standing there with all of our sins in front of Hashem in trepidation and fear and shame. That's a good thing. That bought you a ticket 9 days later, Yom Kippurim. You hear what he's saying? Why do we deserve Yom Kippur? It's only because we went through, how do you say emet hadin in English? The fear, the awe, the trepidation of Judgment Day. Yes, standing there with all of our guilt. You're ashamed and you're afraid. Good. That shame and fear and trepidation and awe, that bought you a ticket 9 days later for what? For Yom Kippurim. And that's why Rosh Hashanah comes first. And we earned Yom Kippur by going through the emet hadin of what?
10 days.
Of Rosh Hashanah. And the 10 days. We have to remember that. There are no free lunches, especially not on Yom Kippur. You know that. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, the Mirror Rosh Yeshiva, on Erev Yom Kippur, he went to daven to Har HaZeitim to the Chaim HaKadosh's kever, great tzaddik, and then he asked his driver to take me to Yad Avshalom, which is right at the foot of Har HaZeitim. And he's davening over there and he's crying. And the driver is shocked. He says, Rebbe, this Avshalom was a Rasha Marusha, King David's son who started a civil war against his father. He wanted to kill his father. Why are you davening in the kever of this Rasha? What's going on? What are you crying so much by him? Why don't you daven by a tzaddik? Or a Chaim HaKadosh? What are you going to the kever of on Erev Yom Kippur, no less, to the Yad Avshalom was a Ben Soyer and Moirer? Says the Chaim Shmulevitz, I'll explain. Even after what Avshalom did to his father, started a civil war, wanted to kill his father, David had to go into hiding. When David heard that Avshalom was dead, he should have sighed a sigh of relief. Civil war is over, I can come out of hiding, my life is not threatened. What did he do? He wept uncontrollably, and he said, Avshalom bini, bini Avshalom, 8 times. Halavai, I would have died in your place. King David, take a pill and lie down. This guy was trying to kill you and steal your throne. Instead of breathing a sigh of relief, what are you weeping so much? My son Avshalom, Avshalom bini, bini Avshalom, 8 times. Says the Zohar, why 8 times? 7 times to raise him out of the 7 levels of hell, and the 8th time to bring him into Gan Eden. Says the Chaim Shmulevitz, we are God's children. B'ni b'chari Yisrael, b'nu atam Shem l'keichem. Look at the love that a father has for a rotten, wicked child. So he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're your children. No matter how bad we are, we're not nearly as bad as Avshalom was to what? To his father. And if his father can forgive him, and his love is conditional, so your love for us is much stronger than any human father can have for any rotten son. So you should certainly forgive us. So you went to the Melamed Tzchus on B'ni B'chari Yisrael. We are God's, not just child, we are God's firstborn, Exodus 4. So he went, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look at the love a parent has for a rotten, wicked, low-life child. We are your children. You are a loving father and mother to us. And no matter how bad we are, we're not nearly as bad as Avshalom was to his father. And if David can lovingly forgive him, then of course, God, you can lovingly and should forgive us. And that's why he went to daven at the kever of Avshalom, Yad Avshalom. It's called the Day of Atonement. Why isn't Kippur called the Day of Atonement? You split up the word atonement, you get at one mint. At one mint. The tafkid of Yom Kippur is to become one again with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. At one mint. Split up the word, David, you'll see. That's what it stands for. One again with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Teshuva. It's the ultimate time machine where we go back to where you once belonged, get back to ourselves. We can go back to the past and turn a past sin into a present win. Time machine. But the essence of Teshuva, we'll talk about Teshuva's 4 steps. The main step is Vidu B'Peh, that the Rambam does count. So we go back to the past and turn a past sin into a present win. We reinvent ourselves or rejuvenate ourselves. And therefore, the Medrash Tanchuma says that Teshuva kadma la'olam. The Medrash Tanchuma says that Teshuva preceded the creation of the universe because our world is bound by time and space. But Teshuva is literally out of this world. It's literally out of this world. And this explains something very strange. We sing the sins. Ay, 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 oh, shamnu, bagadnu, I'm a low-life traitor and a no-good bum. Ay, 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 I am a rebel. Chatanu lefonecha, I am a low-life sinner. The joy of turning a past sin into what? A present win. Ain't that something to sing about, Avi? Teshuva, Yuma 86, you do Teshuva Mehava, your past Avera becomes recycled to what? Avi, a mitzvah. Ain't that something to sing about? Teshuva is the outer worldly gift, and that's something to sing about. Turning an Avera into a mitzvah. Gemara Yuma, page 86. Remember Johnny Yuma? It says they do tshuva mehava. If you do tshuva because you love God, then that past avera gets recycled into what? Does it make any sense? Makes no sense. It's outer worldly. It's the ultimate time machine. You know who says that statement? Rav Shimon ben Lakish, who happened to be Meir Lansky. I mean, he was like Bugsy Siegel. Rav Shimon ben Lakish. And from Bugsy Siegel, he became one of the greatest sages in the Talmud Bavli and the Yerushalmi. The guy played a double. He turned his Averis into mitzvot. But that's something he made. Let's think about that. Shimon ben Lakish taught that you do tshuva because you love God, then your past Averis get recycled to mitzvahs.
What about the Kol?
Every person do tshuva on his own. But before we got a problem here. Because if you look at the Bava Metzia, did Rav Shimon ben Lakish do tshuva mehava? The Gemara tells a story over there that Rabbi Yochanan told him, listen, you're so intelligent, you have so much koiches, why don't you become a Baal Tshuva, join my yeshiva, and I'll fix you up with my sister, who happens to be Miss Israel. So the Talmud there tells a story in Bava Metzia. He became a Baal Tshuva and a great scholar because what? The sister. He got fixed up with a beautiful sister, Yochanan, and he married her. So what is he talking about tshuva from love? He loved the girl. We're talking about loving God. Rav Shlokish, you're mixing me up. You did tshuva because you loved the girl. And you're talking about tshuva for loving God? Hello? What's the message? Just do it. Nike. Shimon Lakish says, look at me. I did tshuva because I love the girl, but look at me now. Mitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma. Just do it. For the girl, for covet, you want neighbors to praise you, just do it. Because eventually, you'll graduate. And I'm the living proof. The Shimon ben Lakish, I didn't do it because I loved God. I did it because I loved the girl, but look at me now. If I can do it, you can do it. But just start. For any reason, whatever it takes, Nike, just do it, and you have a guarantee. Mitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma. Tractate Tainis 7, Psachim 50. Other places in Saita, B'tok Shelo Lishma. How do you say that in English? Bo Lishma. Who's Lishma? Her sake. Who's the her? The Shekhinah. And he's the living example, the great Shimon and Lakish. That's pretty amazing, right? The Shulchan Aruch tells us that the shofar of Rosh Hashanah has to be a ram's horn and has to be bent. In order to win at Judgment Day, has to be a ram's horn and it must be bent. What's the symbolism of a ram's horn and why it has to be bent? Akedas Yitzchak, which was a ram, right? And when did the Akedah take place? On Rosh Hashanah. So therefore we read Akedas Yitzchak on Rosh Hashanah. But why does it have to be bent? Why does it have to be bent? Beautiful. If you bend your ego to make way for someone that offended you, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bend the din for you. What an amazing idea. Kafuf, if you bend your ego, you compromise, you make way for others when they wronged you, then you're guaranteed that God will bend the judgment to you, even though what? You don't deserve it. Midah keneged midah. That's the symbolism of a bent shofar. And that's why the Talmud tells us that making a shidduch work is like Kriyas Yamsuf. What's the connection? Kriyas Yamsuf parted, went against its nature, right? The Red Sea split. If you want a marriage to work, each partner has to split for the other. Make like the Red Sea. Go against your nature. Be mevater. And that's the secret to a happy marriage. Go against your nature. And that's the secret to winning on the Yom Adin. You bend yourself. You look at the bend shofar. Bend your ego. And Hashem said, I'll bend the judgment to you. Pretty amazing. Why a ram's horn? Because the ram of Isaac, right? Kedat Yitzchak. And the Talmud says, why not a cow? Why not a cow's horn blows better than a ram's horn? You can try it. So the Talmud says, Ein keteger nasa seneger. The prosecutor cannot become Perry Mason. Remember Perry Mason? Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. What's the prosecutor? The cow. Why? The golden calf. Worst sin we committed. So therefore, Rosh Hashanah, we want forgiveness. So you can't use a cow's horn because the prosecutor, the mother of the cow, of the egel, can't become what? The seneger, the defense attorney. Okay? But the Talmud says, wait a minute. Ain't keteger nasa seneger. You only say that in the Holy of Holies. People make a mistake. 80% of the time, what clothes was the high priest wearing on Yom Kippur? See, 80% of the time, what was he wearing? Big Dezav, Avram. Because 80% of the time, where was he? In the Kodesh. Only went into the Holy of Holies, which was 20% of the time. Only then did he have to wear Big Day Lavan. But when he was not in the Holy of Holies, when he was in the Kodesh, he was parading around, even on Yom Kippur, in what? In gold. Because Ein Ketega Nasa Seneger is only a problem where? The Holy of Holies. Outside, no problem. So the Talmud says, you're mixing me up. Where do you blow the shofar? The Holy of Holies? No. Even in Ocean Parkway, you blow the shofar, right? Even in Vancouver. So you're telling me Ein Ketega is only a problem, Holy of Holies, to blow the shofar all over the world. So why can't you use a cow's horn? It's not a problem. The problem of the prosecutor not becoming the defense attorney, that's only the Holy of Holies. So what's the problem? You blow the shofar not in the Holy of Holies, and you told me the Talmud is shown that that's not a problem of the prosecutor becoming defense attorney, that's only the Holy of Holies. So the Talmud says amazing. When you blow shofar, you are virtually in the Holy of Holies. Listen to this amazing idea. For those magic moments, when you hear the shofar blast, you are being transported magically, virtually, where? Kodesh HaKadoshim. And therefore, Ein Ketega Nasas Hanega is a problem. Who knows this? Those magic moments, Avram Tkiyah Shofar, we are being magically transported into the Holy of Holies. And therefore, Ein Ketega Nasas Hanega becomes a problem. Because even though physically, where are we hearing the shofar? In Lakewood, right? But for those moments, you're being transported virtually to Holy of Holies. And therefore, you can't use what? A cow's horn or a bull's horn. Because Ein Ketega Nasas Hanega. That's how precious Tkiyat Shofar is. We are in the make-believe Kodesh HaKadoshim. Now, we begin Kol Nidrei, very strange. With Yom Kippur, we begin not with a prayer. People think Kol Nidrei is a prayer. It's not a prayer. Say a little prayer for me. You would think you would begin Kol Nidrei with a prayer, right? It's not a prayer. It's a declaration of a Torah's Nedarim. It's a declaration that all of the vows that I made and I didn't keep should be annulled. There are worse sins than breaking a vow. Lashon Hara is worse. Eating pig is worse. So there's so many sins you could begin with. Why do you pick on the sin of what? Breaking a vow. The worst sins. Breaking your promise or a vow. Says the Zohar HaKadosh. Every sin that you do also includes breaking your vow. We all vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. We didn't say Billy Nader. We all vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. All of us were there. If not in the flesh, Avi, we were there, what? In the spirit. So the Zohar says, every sin you do also includes breaking your vow. Every sin is a twofer. We all vowed Na'aseh v'nishma. So therefore, we begin the day of Teshuva with Kol Nidrei, and then we move on. Then we move on to the specific sin of what? Of Al-Chet. Of Al-Chet. So on Yom Kippur, we can rejuvenate ourselves. Let me tell you an amazing... When the Lubavitcher Rebbe Zatzal first took over his Nesius, when he became Rebbe, one of his first sichos, what it means to be a Lubavitcher Chassid, he told the following story. Kol Nidrei night, the Balatanya is nowhere to be found. The founder of Chabad, the biggest tzaddik Avram, he's nowhere to be found. Kol Nidrei night, where's the holy Balatanya? They went looking for him. You know where they found him? In a shack, taking care of a Jewish girl that ran off with a shegitz. And she had a child with him. And the shegitz abandoned her, and her family abandoned her. She just gave birth. Parents cut her off. The whole town excommunicated her. She's there with a newborn child. The Balatanya himself lit the fire. This is Yom Kippur night. Cooked soup and fed it to her, and he gave the baby. This Lubavitcher Rebbe says, this is a terrible sinner. She ran off with a shegitz. The shegitz abandoned her. Her parents abandoned her. The Balatanya himself didn't send a disciple. He himself was Mechala Yom Kippur. Was he Mechala Yom Kippur? No. B'kuach nefesh doche kol haTorah kula, even for a sinner. So Lubavitcher Rebbe said that means to be a Lubavitcher Chassid, to love every Jew unconditionally, even a sinner like this girl. That's the story he told to kick off his Rebbe-ship. And this fits in wonderfully. You know, everybody knows what we read on Yom Kippur afternoon. Mafta Yoina. But there's a Yom Kippur morning reading from Yeshayahu. People not so familiar with that. They all want Mafta Yoina. But Rabbi Yaakov, what do you read Yom Kippur morning, Daf Torah? Yeshayahu Nun Zayin. Yom Kippur is all about fasting between man and God. God tells Yeshayahu, Yom Kippur morning reading, chapter 57, Haloi zeh tzoim evchareu. You know which fast I choose? Haloi poroi sorei vachmecha. Share your food with the hungry. So the Baal HaTanya did that. Yom Kippur to work, you have to make sure that even a Jew that's a sinner, if he's starving, you have to help him, even on Yom Kippur. That's the Haftorah reading of Yom Kippur morning. So this is from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, I heard this from the Rav himself because I have the tape. Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, it's Yom Kippur night. You hear? He says, we're not going to say Yom Kippur. This Jewish communist in the town was arrested. He's in the local jail. They're going to ship him to Siberia, and he's finished. But the chief police, I know, he loves bribes. If we have enough money, we can buy this guy out. I want everybody to go home. We're not going to say Kol Nidrei. Everybody go home, bring me all the money that you can spare, put it here in front of the bima. We're not going to say Kol Nidrei. Pandemonium broke out. This guy is a Jewish communist. You know what a Jewish communist is? You're going to be Mechal Yom Kippur to save him? Said Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, yes. He's a Jew. Yom Kippur, God loves all of his children, not just a frum Jew. So he waited, they brought him the money, valuables. Rav Soloveitchik tells a story about the Zayda. He took the bundle of money on Yom Kippur to the jailhouse, gave the police chief, and they let this guy out, who was no tzaddik. That's Yom Kippur. Who knows this? Yom Kippur is important, but saving a Jewish person is more important. Even a sinner. And therefore we keep repeating over and over again, Gimel Midas HaRachamim, over and over again, the 13 attributes of mercy. Raphael, why do we keep saying it so many times? Perhaps once it'll penetrate. One of them is, Notze Chesed La'alofim. God, you preserve loving kindness for thousands of generations. Whose loving kindness do you preserve, God? We keep saying this over and over again in Slichas and Rosh Hashanah, and not Rosh Hashanah, Slichas and Yom Kippur. God, you preserve chesed for thousands of generations. Whose chesed do you preserve? Whose chesed? Says Rashi, She'odam oisel afanov. The chesed that we do for God, hello? The chesed that we do for God, He preserves it. How can we do chesed for God? Rashi says, Rabbeinu B'chai, and this Rashi, every time you do a chesed for a Jew, God says it's a twofer. Who knows this? You do a favor for a Yid, a kindness for a Yid, God says you're doing a kindness for me. Rashi and Chumash and Parshas Kisisa, we keep saying it over and over again in Slichas. Preserving kindness for thousands of generations, says Rashi, that we do for Hashem. You do a chesed for a Yid, God says you're doing a chesed for God. Jews love bargains. Buy one, get two. Pretty amazing. And we keep repeating that on Yom Kippur over and over again. Who knows this? That's pretty amazing. Don't you think? Do a chesed for a Yid, God says doing a chesed for me. You got to know that. Because mitzvah tzrichas kavana, how do you say it in English, David? Mitzvah tzrichas kavana. So you do a chesed for a Yid, doesn't have to be money. You give him a shmeichel. You could give him a sour face, you give him a shmeichel. You're making him happy. Who are you making happy? Hashem, it's a twofer. Now, Rav Soloveitchik says, let's analyze the reading of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur morning, what did we read about? No, Yom Kippur. The avoda, the Kohen Gadol walking to Kodesh HaKadoshim, makes sense, right? Yonah the Yoma. But Yom Kippur afternoon, we read something very bizarre. We read about control your sexual urges. Don't be sexually immoral. Doesn't make any sense. Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. If I wanted to be sexually immoral, I don't have the koyach. Didn't take my spirulina that morning, right, Avram? Didn't take my Viagra. What are we reading about, says Rabbi Soloveitchik? Who'd want to sin with you anyway, sexually? You don't smell so good, bad breath, right? You don't spritz yourself. You have no koyach to sin anyway. Why in the world, on Yom Kippur afternoon, you have nothing to read, but don't be sexually immoral? Keep your hands to yourself? What does that got to do with Yom Kippur? What's the message? Says the great Rabbi Soloveitchik. To answer this question, of course, he what? The Mishnah says, Eze Ashir Sameach B'chelko. Who is an Ashir? Someone that what? Is happy with his portion. He says, that's only in Gashmias. That's only in material matters. I have a dumb phone, good enough for me. I don't need a smartphone. Be happy with your portion, right? You don't have the latest high-tech gadgets. In Gashmias, in material matters, you should be Smeach B'chelko. Don't be greedy. But in Ruchnius, if somebody's happy with his portion in spiritual matters, he's a Rasha. Who said greed is good? Gordon Gekko. Greed is good. It depends where. Not in Gashmias, Avram. But in Ruchnius, you have to be greedy. Says the great Rabbi Soloveitchik. Greed is good. Because in Ruchnius, in spiritual matters, if you're not greedy, in spiritual matters, there's no status quo in Ruchnius. Yaakov Avinu was shown a ladder in his dream. Why a ladder? In spiritual matters, if you're not climbing up the ladder, Avi, you're automatically what? Nobody takes a coffee break on a ladder. Anybody takes a coffee break on a ladder? If you're not climbing up, you're going down. So Rabbi Soloveitchik says that's the symbol of Yaakov Avinu. We're all Yaakov Avinu, the ladder. In Ruchnius, in spiritual matters, if you're not climbing up, you're automatically climbing down. So in Ruchnius, you have to be greedy. Said the great Rabbi Soloveitchik, in the morning, Yom Kippur, read about Kodesh Kadoshim. He said, if you're not headed for the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you might not get there. But if you're not focused on the Holy of Holies, if you're coasting, I'm satisfied with my, I learned enough, I steiged enough. If you become complacent in spiritual matters, if you're not focused on the Holy of Holies, like Yom Kippur morning, then Nebuch, you can wind up in the Parsha of Gili Arayot. He says, Rav Soloveitchik, the morning reading, Kodesh Kadoshim. You're not going to get there, but at least focus. That's your eye on the prize. Otherwise, you can wind up the other Torah reading, Chas v'Sholom. There's no sitting on the fence in spiritual matters. What's it called? Treading water? What? If you're not focused on the Kodesh HaKadoshim, if you're not focused and headed that way, then Chas v'Sholom you can wind up in the Parshat Gili Arayot. It's a slippery slope, says the great Rabbi Soloveitchik. This explains the two opposite Torah readings from the morning, Yom Kippur to what? To the afternoon. He said it's a pasuk in Chumash, in Parshas Balak. Vayeshev Yisrael b'Shittim. The Jews settled in Shittim and they began to commit sexual immorality with the wild Moabite women. This is 40 years after Yetzias Mitzrayim. This is 40 years after Matan Torah. They've seen everything. Kriyas Yamsuf, Matan Torah, donuts from heaven. They see the Shekhinah. Every day they saw the Shekhinah hovering over the Mishkan. By day, the cloud. At night, they saw a pillar of fire. How could these people, after 40 years of all these supernatural miracles, how could they sin with the wild Moabite women? Vayeshev. Says the Gemara Megillah, Vayeshev. If you become complacent I steiged enough. Genug. Take a vacation. The bigger you are, the harder you fall. Since they were so great, such a high level, when they began to rest on their laurels and to coast, Vayeshev means to coast, that it wound up with the wild Moabite women. What an insight. What an insight. So what's the message for us? We can't become complacent. We can't coast in life. Happy with your lot, Avram, is with the smartphone. Or a dumb phone is also good. But not in ruchnius and spiritual matters. You've got to be greedy. Be focused on the Kodesh Kedoshim, or otherwise you're headed, lo yaleinu, chas v'sholem. The other Torah reading. The Parsha of what? Of sexual immorality. That's how the Yetzer Hara works. The greater a person is, the Yetzer Hara puts his koiches to what? To trip him up. So you have to be always on guard. You can't let your hair hang down, even for a moment. Vayeshev Yisrael Bashitim, once they became complacent, that's it. It's a slippery slope to the wild Moabite women. Pretty amazing. Rosh Hashanah. Sunday evening, the Yom Hadin, we're standing in judgment in front of the Melech Malchei Hamlochim. We're on trial for our lives. But we have protection, because the judge happens to be my loving parent. Wouldn't you call that protection? The judge is my loving parent. And he loves me more than any human parent can love a human child. We know that. So we have it in. The more, in this week's Parsha, it says the matter is very close to you. Which matter, says the Ramban? Teshuva, says the Ramban. God is very heavily invested in us.
Too big to fail?
We're too big to fail, not like Lehman Brothers. We're too big to fail. Ki chelek Hashem amo. Devarim 32 says that God is a portion of people. Every one of us has a part of God inside of him. God is heavily invested. More than we want to do tshuva, he wants us to do tshuva. Ki kor alecha dove ma'od. The matter of tshuva is very, very close to you. Beficha b'vavcha. It's in this week's Parsha. In your mouth and in your heart. We know there are no extra words in the Torah. Just say the matter is close. We have to say mouth and your heart. Says the Ramban. Ikar of tshuva is what? Vidu b'peh. Beficha. David, vidu b'peh. How do you say that in English? Confession of the mouth. Ubevavcha busha belev. The oisi is shuvah. You don't need the tov. Shuvah. Return. All right? Rearrange the letter shuvah. What do you get? Busha. So that's the essence of tshuva. Beficha b'vavcha. Beficha means what? Vidu b'peh. Oral confession. And busha belev. Not enough to say the words, but in your heart you have to feel busha v'charata. And that's the essence of tshuva. Getting back to the Mishnah, Eze Osher Sameach Bechelko. Who is called rich? Someone that's happy with his bank account, right, David? That's what it seems to say. You're happy with your stock portfolio. Baal Shem Tov says that makes a person happy. You can't take it with you. Can you take your bank account with you? Jack Betty said, if I can't take it with me, I'm not going. But he went anyway. So Baal Shem Tov said he doesn't understand the Mishnah. Who's happy? It's a Mishnah. Someone is happy with what? With his stock portfolio. Can you take it with you? Says the Baal Shem Tov, that's not pshat. Hasameach bechelko, with his chelik elahai mimal. Deuteronomy 32 says, Ki chelek Hashem amo. God is a portion of his people. Every one of us has a portion of God inside of us. That should make you very happy. Not the bank account. Sameach bechelko yechelik elahai mimal. It's a verse in Job 31. And the Baal Tanya says, mamash. We're a portion of God above. How do you say mamash in English?
For sure.
Actual.
For sure.
Actual.
One of
That's Sameach Bechelko. All of us have a part of God in us, a portion of God in us. That should make us happy. We're a piece of the rock. I am a rock. Yidam Hashem Tov's take on it. Sameach Bechelko. With the chelik alahai mimal shelo. All of us have that. That's pretty amazing. Job was jealous. Look at Job 31. Job was a great man, but he was a goy. So goy have a tzelem elohim, but only a Jew has a chelik alahai mimal. On top of it, every human being has an image of God, but only a Jew has a chelik alahai mimal. Atem Nitzavim hayom, David. This week's parsha, right? How come we say Atem omdim hayom? How do you say to stand in Hebrew? Omed. So how come it says Nitzav? The Zohar says Nitzav means to stand in judgment. Hayom is when? Rosh Hashanah. It doesn't say Atem omdim hayom, because Omed means to stand physically. The word Nitzav in Hebrew, yes, Upan teacher, means to stand in judgment. So we are all standing hayom in judgment. Kulchem. All of us. Then it says, your brain surgeon, your garbage collector, your water carrier. You already said all. Why do you have to? There are no extra words in the Torah, David. It says all of you stand in judgment. Hayom Rosh Hashanah. So then why do you have to mention the CEO, the CFO, and the garbage collectors? So the Zohar says, in front of God, we're all equal. People give titles and PhDs and this and that. That's people. But to God, Kulchem, we're all equal. So, the word Hayom in Tanakh means Rosh Hashanah. And we all stand in judgment. The book of Job, very strange book. Vehi Hayom. It was the day. That's what it says, how the book opens. Says the Zohar, which day was it? Rosh Hashanah. And God asks the Satan, hey, did you check out my tzatzkala, Job? What's going on over here? On Rosh Hashanah, look at the book how it begins. God asked the Satan, Hayayom, hey, look at my great servant, the Goya She'iyov. Isn't he something? What's going on? Says the Zohar, it was Rosh Hashanah. And Satan came with a whole suitcase of sins. That's his job on Rosh Hashanah. His job is to come with a pekel of Averis to prosecute us. So God said, I don't want to hear it. Let's change the subject. Let's talk about the non-Jew Job. Isn't that amazing? The Satan came to prosecute Israel. That's his job on Rosh Hashanah. So Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I don't want to hear it. Let's talk about Job and the non-Jews. How do you say change the diskette? Change the subject. That's what the Zohar says. God doesn't want to hear anything bad about Am Yisrael. And therefore, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. The Gemara Rosh Hashanah says one day God judges us, and the next day he judges what? The world, the non-Jews. Yom Kippur is only for us. But Rosh Hashanah is a universal holiday. We get judged one day, and the Goyim get judged the next day. The Zohar says that Rosh Hashanah, the first day is strict judgment, and the second day is lenient judgment. What's it all about? Meshech Chochmah explains. The first day we're judged as an individual. We're put under the microscope on the audit. That's a very stern, harsh judgment. Because if they're going to look for something, they're going to find, right? A yochid standing alone. The second day, God judges us as part of the tzibur. So even though the first day someone didn't make it, chas v'sholom, don't give up. On your own, maybe you're not beseder. But the second day, God says he's not beseder. But people depend on him. He's a tzibur man. He'll make it. The second day is a lenient judgment. So therefore, even though a person alone doesn't have too many mitzvahs, but if he's helping others and other people depend on him, then the second day he'll win. We have this dual role as a yochid and as what? A tzibur man. And the more a person's involved with the tzibur, the better off he is. Because even though on his own, he's not so hatsy-tatsy, but if people depend on him for favors, God will keep him around anyway. Not for his sake, but for what? For the people that depend on him, that need him. And therefore, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days, Avi. First day we judge an individual, and the second day we're judged as what? As part of the tzibur.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.